I'm in the studio with three dynamic leaders, opinion makers here in the state of Maryland. Corrigan Vaughn is the CEO of Vaughn for America. It's a political consulting group. You may remember Corrigan's run for public office here in the state of Maryland, governor and the United States Senate. Trey Lewis, president of the Baltimore Area Young Republicans. Hassan Giordano, read him and his thoughts on Examiner.com. He's independent. He is the host of Reporters Roundtable. You can check him out on radio and on television. Thank you all for being here. The phone lines are full. Everyone is excited. We're talking about Michael Steele and the Republican Party, Alex Mooney and the Republican Party in the state of Maryland. Why is it that there is a perception that the Republican Party is not out for the best interests of African Americans or middle class or working people? Trey Lewis is a Republican. He's middle class. He's working class. He's one of the men in blue who protect and serve this city.
Black.
And he's African American. I'm not sure why that perception exists, but I can tell you, gentlemen, there's some callers who believe it's not just a perception. Let's talk Republican politics. Now, we don't get a chance to spend a whole lot of time talking about the Republican Party here in Maryland because they're pretty much non-existent.
That's not true.
Corrigan, I'm being sarcastic.
I know
I'm trying to keep it light. We're close to the holidays, but I have a feeling we're going to get into some serious topics. Michael Steele, former lieutenant governor of the state of Maryland, served with distinction here in the state, ran for the United States Senate. Unfortunately, Michael's campaign came up short, and when I say unfortunately, because he ran a dynamic campaign. But the best candidate, I believe, won that election. It is very interesting to me that almost immediately he began to be touted for positions all over the country, including running a PAC, and ultimately was elected chairman of the Republican National Committee. Recently, in the last election cycle, the Republicans elected 63 members of the House of Representatives and came very close to taking the majority from the Democrats in the United States Senate. They raised more money than the Democrats did during the election cycle, and they took a majority of the governorships that were up for re-election.
All
that being said, Michael Steele is being challenged for re-election to the chairmanship of the Republican National Committee. Corrigan Vaughn, with all of those successes, why is Michael Steele being challenged within the party?
Raise the conscious level of people understanding that Republicans aren't as bad as they think they are.
Let me bring Hassan Giordano. He is a journalist. You can read him on Examiner.com. Hassan, give me your thoughts on the current status, the current state of the Republican Party nationally. And why do you think, now you know Michael Steele, you've known him for a while, why do you think he has been in hot water since he became chairman, but had a lot of success, but still has about 4 challengers already announced against him for chairman?
Because of the hot air we've already heard here tonight. I mean, that's what they're giving. I mean, the bottom line is, and I want to shout out my future attorney. We've had the discussion plenty of times, Victoria Kent. Bottom line, Michael Steele's being let go because he's a black man that they don't need no more. They did the same thing when he ran with Ehrlich in 2002. They needed a black man to win elections. They threw him out there in 2006 and made him run for Senate because they knew had Ehrlich won again, he would have been the presumptive nominee for governor in 4 years. And a black man would not get elected throughout this state of Maryland. Now Steele, they don't need him. They brought him in just to be an answer to President Obama. They wanted a black man to rebut a black man. They didn't want a white man out there looking crazy. Now they don't need him anymore, and they feel that he's a liability. Now it's time to go. But Michael got something for him. He knows how to count votes. Trust and believe he's going to win re-election.
I'll respond to that. I want you to respond to Hassan's allegation, his observation that your party still has a problem with race.
Well, I mean,
this is Trey Lewis from my listeners.
I mean, it's very hard for the Republican Party to go out there when the last 3 election cycles, 2010. 08 and 06, the black population voted 93% or more for the Democrat. It's very hard to break that. It's very hard to try to really be candid because here's the thing. It's a catch-22. If we go out there and we say we're going to put a black candidate out there because we want to have a rapport and we want to establish a relationship with the black community, the Republicans just using a black token. But if we don't do that, the Republicans don't care about black people. So where do we go? We're going to have to start to begin to establish a rapport and a relationship with the black community. The only way we can do that is about putting candidates out there, putting Republicans that are black in position so they can go out there and do that.
But are they going to put the money behind somebody like you? I was just talking to Victor Clark, who was probably the greatest African-American Republican in this state, And
No.
we've seen it quite some time. But I mean, Steele's out there. Victor Clark.
Harris Allen was the
Okay,
father.
let's
Victor
not
was
get
too.
distracted.
But we need a new African American candidate to relay those messages. Trey Lewis has been brought up from me and others time and time again. But is Senator Kittleman and the rest of the GOP, are they going to actually put the money behind Trey Lewis to help him win in Baltimore City, Prince George's County, or anywhere
One
else?
of the things that I've noticed here in this great state of Maryland is once you get below Maryland, a lot of African Americans in the Bible Belt are more conservative
Of course,
thinking.
most definitely.
And you talk about what the Republican Party puts out there. In Myrtle Beach, there's a congressman who's a Republican who was just elected.
Tim Scott.
Tim
There's
Scott.
one down in
Alan
Florida.
West in Florida.
Exactly.
First Lieutenant
And
Governor,
First
the
Lieutenant-
woman in
exactly.
Florida.
So what this myth about the Republican Party doesn't want black folk, I think the problem that we have is that we have some black folk who have have a perverted sense of what the Republican Party is, and have never been to outside of this state.
But the only thing I think is, though, this is the only thing I think. You're right. There's a perverted sense. But you have people like Trey Lewis, like Victoria Kent. These are young black people who are intelligent. They are brilliant. And if you put the money behind these people, they can win office. And now Victoria's not a Republican. I know Trey is. But you can take candidates like that and really mold them, like a Karl Rove, come in here, mold them, and make African Americans believe in the Republican Party, and they just don't do it.
But
Texas was pure Democratic before Karl Rove got over.
Yeah, you're right.
He came in and said,
it
this
wasn't
is the
black.
strategy.
Yeah.
It
It
wasn't
wasn't
just black, though, but it was a message that when you went to the black community, it was one message.
Okay.
When you went into this community, it was another
Besides
message.
that, or that blacks don't support the Republicans. There must be another explanation. But nobody says anything when Jews don't support the Republican Party.
Well, most blacks don't know that blacks
This
were
is Sanjay
Republicans
Darno. Go ahead.
before they were Democrats. Most people don't study their history. The young people don't know that Victor Clark and all the Bill Henry and the rest of them who are Democrats now all were Republicans
Very
before
true.
the 60s. Now, before the Barry Goldwater conservative movement that lost them blacks but won them the South,
Sure did.
blacks were Republicans, and then it switched over with the civil rights, because the civil rights was actually brought up by Richard Nixon.
Yeah.
People don't even know that.
Yeah.
He was the
He
one who brought
created
civil
affirmative action.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Courtney.
Victoria, this is what I say. Victoria Kent took the Sunday last week. I don't even
Sure,
I-
keep bringing up this woman's
No,
name.
no, because it was, but it was funny because she brought me the
Go ahead.
Baltimore Sun. You know, I work for the Examiner,
That's
so I don't
right.
even read the Sun. Yeah. Anyway, she brought me the Sun with, I think it was Don Murphy, did an op-ed. And it
Oh,
said
yeah.
that the Republicans need to bypass Baltimore City and Prince George's County to focus on who? Obviously, it ain't us, because if you're bypassing us, who are you focusing on? That is the problem with the state GOP.
Your thoughts.
I
What
wanna-
about...
I
Okay,
want
go
to
ahead.
piggyback on what Hassan, because I agree with him. One of the biggest problems that we have in this state right now is that, for example, you have more registered independents in the state of Maryland
Then registered
than
Republicans.
registered Republicans.
No, in the city.
In the city.
Yeah.
Than you do Republicans. But interestingly enough, it's growing to the point where they're going to surpass both Democrats and Republicans, yet you have no open primary election for them to vote in.
Right. We've
And
been
that's
fighting
a
for a while.
problem. And that's one thing that I can say about the Republican Party. We would support.
Of course
in
you
the
would.
president-
State we would.
But of
in this
course
state-
you would,
but no, but there's
because of the overwhelming Democratic voter
But that's not
advantage.
true,
That's
because I've
not
asked
true.
them
Thank
to
you.
introduce the bill, and none of them will.
And
Oh,
none
we
of them will.
support it,
No,
but
who-
we
you mean
want
the Republicans?
Republicans
Okay.
and Democrats.
Yeah, and
Thanks for your call.
Well, the
Just real quick,
filibuster.
Strom Thurmond, who was supposed to be this big racist, actually supported the man who just got in, Tim Scott,
Exactly.
over his own son
Exactly.
for council
For
before.
council,
now,
yeah.
now he's
Also,
in as a
also
congressional
Hassan, which is
person.
very important.
As
is the-
Tim Scott is black.
In 1964 and 1965,
Tim Scott's been on this
the biggest
program.
landmark civil rights bills, 80% was voted by approval from the Republican Party, only 60% of the Democratic Party. Not to mention filibuster. You talk about filibusters against civil rights. Go look up a man called Robert Byrd, Senator Robert Byrd, who was in the Senate for 100,000 years, and he filibustered the civil rights bills.
I appreciate your call. Now, I will tell you, just since I'm the host, I don't like that phrase, Uncle Tom. I don't like it being thrown at people. She's certainly entitled to her opinion, but let me just go on record as telling you I don't like that kind of language. Trey Lewis,
You know, stuff like that is just stuff like that, because I did get tickets to the comedy show.
You know, she is.
I laugh at stuff like that
Yeah.
because it's very funny, because it's so uneducated and it's so ignorant of the facts and circumstances.